What's up, guys? It's Cameron Joss here with another episode of Ask DeFranco's Gym. Today's question is, does my conditioning make me slower or negatively affect my speed? So, what I've done here is I've written out the three energy systems of the human body, because conditioning is too broad of a term. You need to figure out which one of these qualities are we talking about, what's being used to help mobilize the athlete over the course of their event. So let's take football as an example, because football is a sport that we work a lot with here. So when we're looking at football, football is a sport that's heavily speed influenced, right? So we say speed kills in the sport of football. So what we're talking about with speed is the alactic system. Specifically, alactic power would be one straight sprint as fast as you possibly can. But when we're talking about sustainability over the course of a game, speed being present over the course of a game, we're talking about alactic capacity. So the capacity refers to the sustainability. You need to be able to go play after play and maintain your speed, essentially. So, in the sport of football, to remain fast over the course of a game, you need to stress the alactic capacity. So we need to train for alactic capacity. We need to make sure that we're staying in this environment, and we want to focus on quality of effort. Everything is quality, and maintaining a higher speed of movement, rather than making the rest intervals very, very short in between each effort, in between each sprint, which could then start to drop down here and become a little bit lactic. The legs tighten up. It's not a good speed environment, because this environment is actually too slow to help develop speed. So we need to keep it alactic when we're talking about the primary energy system for the sport of football. Now, you might hear people say that football is an alactic and aerobic sport. So the aerobic system, even though it's down here, the reason why the aerobic system helps influence the sport of football is because the aerobic system will actually help in the recovery from play to play. So, you do your play, 3 to 6 seconds, whatever it might be for that play. Then you're standing around anywhere from 20 to 40 seconds. That 20 to 40 seconds is crucial for the aerobic system. So if you have good aerobic development, the aerobic system will be called upon faster. The energy substrates used for this system will be replenished faster. Any lactic acid that may have accumulated during the play will help be cleared faster. That's why the aerobic system is a very important system for the sport of football. So, when you're talking about a conditioning program for the sport of football, you have to categorize the two different types of energy systems that we're stressing. So, what our primary influence would be is alactic capacity and aerobic capacity. So, when we're devising a training program involving these two types of systems, we might have a high day or a hard day, otherwise known as a high day, which we're talking about high CNS intensive elements. So on days like this, we're talking about things like jumps, throws, sprints. So if we're going to condition the alactic capacity, we're going to do that on a higher intensity day. So that's why it's going to be 90% or above of effort, repeated for X amount of reps. An example is, the other day we had a group of football guys. They were doing a prowler workout. So they were doing repeated sprints with the prowler, about 45 seconds rest in between. The 45 seconds allowed for them to remain in the alactic system, or to rely upon the alactic system without dropping into the lactic system. So it was enough rest to stay alactic, but it was still conditioning the capacity. So what they were aiming to do, each sprint was 90% or above of their best time, and then they wanted to see how many they could get before they started to drop off and drop into the lactic system. So we're conditioning the alactic capacity with this type of workout. Now, on a lower intensity day or even a recovery day, you could stress the aerobic system, because it will help with improvement of blood flow, transfer of heat, helping to clear out any lactate. The better this system is, the faster your body will clear lactate during a game, things like that. So we want to develop this system as well on a more lower intensity type of day. So an example of an aerobic workout that we'll do with a football player is tempo runs. Pretty simple. Football is an interval type of sport. Stop, go, stop, go. So we train the aerobic system in the same fashion, in interval fashion. It's less time consuming, and it gets the job done the same way. So tempo runs, a fixed distance, nothing too crazy when I'm talking about like repeated 200 meters, because again, football, the distances aren't very high. So you want to keep the distances somewhere within a football range, and the efforts would be 75%, maybe a little bit less, because you want to keep it aerobic. You want the last rep to almost look like your first rep, because if you're getting really, really tight and you're slowing down tremendously, it's because you're relying too heavily on this, you're not taking enough rest, or the effort is too intense to stay inside the aerobic system. So if you're curious about how to create a program using alactic capacity or aerobic capacity and also maintain your speed while conditioning these two different energy systems, be sure to check out our speed DVD and our speed manual. And if you guys have any other questions, be sure to send them to ask-joe@DeFranco'straining.com. Again, that's ask-joe@DeFranco'straining.com, or you can send it via Twitter @DeFranco'sGym. Thanks, guys.